Well, hello there, chaps and chappedesses. Welcome to some of you, and welcome back to others. This is Dax, or doing all kinds of stuff. And today I have a little project here in my garden. Should I build garden steps or a sloping path? Now, obviously, they have their own advantages and disadvantages. Garden steps take up a smaller footprint, but wheeling things out, you have to bump them up. And a sloping path, if you don't want it too steep, you have to have a bigger footprint. But then again, you can wheel stuff out a little bit easier. But I think there's a way I can have best of both worlds. So, if you follow me, we'll see. Now, I won't bore you with the obvious details of having to dig the footings and lay the footings and have the cats walk through the footings, but instead I'll start with where I've already laid the bricks. Now, as you can see, on the bottom I have one brick and not quite half a brick and one brick on top. On the right hand side there, I had to put a little bit of a filler brick in there because my shed sticks out a little bit. And I've put one brick down the back. They don't quite meet in the middle on the two sides, but I just blobbed a bit of cement in the middle. It's going to be all filled with cement anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But the left hand side goes right up to the gate post, and they're pretty level. Now, those of you who watch my shed video knows that I've got real heavy clay garden soil. So I just tap it down and it's more than firm enough to start laying and cut the concrete on. Probably a little unnecessary, but still. Now, when it comes to laying the concrete, I've just got there a straight edge. It's only a small piece of wood, and I say straight in the loosest possible term, just to have some sort of reference point when I come to do the sloping between the bricks. And trying to get it as straight as possible, but it's not essential. I just weigh it down with a nice big bag of soil and a bit of rubble at the side, and hopefully it will stay in place. Now, for the steps, I'm using a big 5 meter, very old decking board. It's a good inch thick, so it's plenty strong enough. It's been sat out and weathered for quite some time, but it'll do the job. Now, my little miter saw is only a 40 quid job. Nice and handy for me, not too expensive, but it handles most of the jobs that I need. And I don't really have a workshop or anything, so I'm doing it on the back path. Now, the decking board is 150mm wide, so it does mean that to complete the cut I will have to flip the board over. It's a bit on the noisy side as well, nice, cheap and cheerful, but it'll do the job. Now, I'm going to be cutting 4 of them, 2 per step, and I will be screwing them together so that they can be easily lifted off in one. I may do that as an update video to see how well it's working at a later date. So now, with all 4 decking boards cut, before I start laying the concrete, I'm going to just wet out the area first. As you all know, laying concrete down, it is a chemical reaction which does use water, and I don't want too much going into the surrounding area. It is quite a warm time at the moment. So the first bucket of the cement is going down. I am actually using sharp sand instead of ballast, but I do have rather a lot of rubble from breaking up old paths and old walls and everything else that I'm trying to remove from my garden. So I'm trying to use up as much as possible to save me getting rid of it, and I'm tapping it down really well to make sure there's no voids or anything in there when the cement is going all the way around it. And I do have some pavement slabs to lay after this, so getting a big ton bag of sharp sand I thought would save a bit of dosh, and because obviously buying in bulk will always be cheaper than buying the smaller bags, And essentially sharp sand is pretty much the same as ballast, but ballast does have gravel in, which I think the rubble will do the same sort of job. So I'm not too worried, it should be more than adequate for me. Now just smoothing it over, and fortunately I have to stop work at this point to let the cat through. He's a bit of an old timer now. He's one of 2 cats, which probably was what made the paw prints in the footings, but soon carry on. Again, throwing more rubble into the mix, and that's pretty much all it is mixing cement, throwing some rubble in, and keep building it up as I go. Luckily I've got a cement mixer, which does make things a little bit easier. Now this mixer was a little bit on the watery side, but it was just going down the back to fill that area there, so I wasn't too fussed. I don't think it really makes that much difference to the strength. I could be wrong, but again, that part wasn't really an essential part of it. It's more important for the slope to be a little bit more sturdier, so it can hold its shape a little bit. I think it does in the end kind of sag a little bit. It has a bit of a pot belly into it after it's dried. But again, I'm not too fussed. It's only going to be for wheeling in my wheelie bins or my wheelbarrow, so as I shift some of my soil, because I'm trying to level the whole lot off and I have tons and tons of soil to shift. But at least a lot of the rubble will be used up, and won't have to take that to the dump. I mean, also, my kids will be having their bikes in and out the back, and it'd be nice and easy for them to get in and out and not have to bump down any steps or anything. So, carrying on here, for the steps, the bottom step that I'm standing on at the moment is 300mm. As I said, the decking boards are 150mm wide, give or take, and the top I'm just measuring to about 330mm, just to give a little bit of an extra gap when it comes down to the slope. Now on the top I'm just using an old set square that's for cutting worktops, and I'm just making sure with a bit of straight wood to make sure it misses the steps, and I've got space to put the decking boards across the 2 bricks. So we're really nearly getting there. I am losing light a little bit at this point, because I did start it a little bit on the late side really, and I do have to stop filming shortly. But I think by now you've kind of got the gist of how it all goes together. It's not rocket science. I do use the strip of wood in between the bit of metal at the top and the strip of wood on the bottom, and I tap down the concrete, just to get the slope as straight as possible. I do think it sags a little bit in the end and has a bit of a pot belly, but can't really be helped. I kind of rushed it a little bit, but yeah, I smooth it over and it doesn't look half bad. You'll see in a minute, a nice and smooth slope. There you go. But I do cut a piece of wood to fit in between the bricks, and I make some marks in it just to give me a bit of grip in case it gets wet. But you see the decking boards span the 2 bricks, and it looks quite nice. It does the job. And after it's dried a bit further, you can see it slipped a little bit in the middle there, and it's kind of pushed up against the decking board and kind of made an indent to it. But it should make getting in and out of my garden a little bit more interesting, make a bit of a unique feature, and hope you enjoy it. Hope you get understood. I didn't gloss over too much, and thanks everyone so much for watching.